Well, hello. My name is Jim Royal. I am a huge Beatles and Elvis Presley fan and basically classic rock in general. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. At the end, if you could do a thumbs up, that's always most appreciated. And feel free to leave comments. I always do my best to try to read them in a timely manner and always try to respond to them. I will respond to everyone. So thank you in advance. Today, what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about John Lennon and what he referred to as his lost weekend. And I'm going to say, was it really so lost? All right. This was a period of time that John referred to when him and Yoko, while they were married, they separated. This was the summer of 1973, roughly a little bit after he had just completed recording Mind Games album in about February 1975. So it was that period. They were having marital issues. There was a lot going on. Yoko kicked him out. Before he left, though, she had talked to their personal assistant, May Pang, who had worked for them for a couple of years, and asked her to basically, watch over John and make sure he didn't get into trouble or mischief. Okay, so she agreed, so she was with John. A lot of the lost weekend some of it was spent in New York. There was some time also spent in Los Angeles. So that was primarily where they were at during most of this. They went to Florida, but this was where most of it was. So my point to this video is not to Yoko bash at all. Okay, my point is just to show you, hopefully with the stuff that he did, that we know that it actually was a very profitable time for him to get stuff done. He's a musician, so I'm going to try to show you some stuff here in this video. And then on a personal level, I thought that it was a really good time, not only for him probably for soul searching, what mattered to him, but also for mending relationships. All right, so let me start here. The first thing that he did is he went out to Los Angeles and started working on a new album at A&M Studios with Phil Spector. Phil Spector had at this point done some production work for him, a couple of his albums, and helped, worked on Let It Be, post-production. But he started working on this album called Rock and Roll. Okay, so they had some sessions there between October 1973 and December 1973. And the whole idea was this: John wanted to do oldies, do songs that influenced him, early influences of rock and roll that not only influenced him but the Beatles, like Gene Vincent, Bebop Alula, Stand By Me, Benny King, Chuck Berry, and other just other wonderful 50s rock musicians. So he wanted to cover those songs, and what he did is Phil decided that there would be Phil's wall of sound, big production like Phil was known for in the 60s, to do that, and also assemble a lot of musicians. In fact, sometimes there were 30 musicians at a session. Well, I'm going to tell you that the sessions did not get off to a good start. John had a lot on his mind. Not only did he have marital problems going on, which was really huge, but he also had immigration problems. He was in fear of being deported from the United States. Also, he was having legal issues. The Beatles thing was still lingering, and going to the courts and all of that. So I'm sure that was on his mind too, among other things. John was not at his best. I'm not going to tell you that this lost weekend period, John was a saint. Okay, he wasn't. He was doing some drinking for some of it. In fact, him and some of his friends like Henry Nilsson, while they were in LA, would go to the Troubadour, a club there, and they got into some trouble. There was one time where John supposedly punched a waitress, and there was another time where they were kicked out for heckling the Smothers Brothers there, who were putting on an act. So it wasn't perfect, and in fact at these sessions initially, John was not his professional self. There were other musicians that worked with him before and after that said, during this time he just, he was drinking, and it just was not a good time. Phil Spector, they said, did his best to keep, the drink, away from John, but John would get it, and then it wouldn't be that productive. So Phil also had his share of problems. So basically, in December of '73, the sessions just quickly ceased. Phil Spector supposedly ran off with the rock and roll tapes, whatever they had recorded up to that point. There was a rumor that he had been involved in a serious car accident after that, but there was time where John wasn't sure what to do, so he did decide to stay in LA. While he was there, he worked on Harry Nilsson's album Pussycats. He produced it for him and was the string arranger. Actually wrote a song called Mucho Mungo, Mount Elga, co-wrote that with Harry Nilsson. And this was recorded at A&M Studios. So they wanted to have a party atmosphere for this. So they had musicians like Keith Moon there, Ringo Starr was playing on it, just a lot of friends that they had in other sessions, just some really good musicians to help out on this album. Harry Nilsson, he is probably best known for the song Everybody's Talkin', which was a huge hit in '69 from the Midnight Cowboy album soundtrack. He also wrote other songs like Without You, which was a big hit for Badfinger in the '70s. And from what I remember, him writing the song Cuddly Toy, a song that the Monkees did. So he had that album working on. Well, after he did that, he went back to New York and he worked on another solo album. He's like, I don't know what's going on with rock and roll now, but I do have to get an album. It's time. So he recorded Walls and Bridges. And Walls and Bridges is a really good album. I do enjoy this. Him and May Pang had, basically they were living together. They were with each other all the time. Informally, they were a couple, and everybody knew it around them. He actually wrote a song about May called Surprise, Surprise, Sweet Bird of Paradox. And in fact, the song Number 9 Dream, which was the second single from this album, it got up to number 9, which was pretty cool. John's favorite number 9. Anyway, she is the woman who whispers John in the song, and I thought that was pretty cool. There was another song on here which was the big hit, Whatever Gets You Through the Night. This was a song John Lennon had wrote, but he had Elton John co-sing. They both he played piano and he sang backup with him, and you can hear him clearly on there, and singing co-lead, I guess. So they did that, and Elton had said, he says, "Okay, John," he says, "I think this one's going to be a #1 hit. I could just tell." And John said, "No, none of my songs after the Beatles have gone to #1. It's not going to happen." And he says, "Well, if it does," they basically made a bet. I want you to come to my concert, Madison Square Garden. I'm going to have later on in the year, and I want you to perform a few songs with me. Well, sure enough, it did go up to #1, and he did. They did do some songs together. One of them was I Saw Her Standing There, which I thought was always pretty cool. He also was involved, I believe, on the recording of Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. John Lennon plays on there, that classic Beatles song that John wrote. All right, so he worked on this, and then after that, he assembled musicians from Walls and Bridges, and he got his tapes back from Phil, but some of them he didn't feel were releasable. So then he worked on this album, Rock and Roll, and he finished it. And he had a nice modest hit on there, the nice cover tune from Benny King called Stand By Me. All right, so this is, roughly, this is an 18-month period, a year and a half. So I've already shown you that. Besides that, he did some session work. And he helped out a fellow Beatle. He helped out Ringo Starr on Goodnight Vienna. In fact, he wrote the title cut for Ringo. It's all down to Goodnight Vienna, and he did the reprise. He was involved on both of those recordings, playing, and you can clearly hear him on there. And then there's a song Only You and You Alone, which is a Platter song, nice classic song. John had recommended that Ringo cover that song, and John is also playing on there. And in fact, if you check out the John Lennon Anthology box set, you'll see John's guide vocal from those sessions on there, which I think is really cool. And then there was a song called Call Me, which I think John played guitar or was involved with, but I think it's a song that Ringo had written. I think it was credited to Starkey. Let me see what it says here. Yeah. All right, so not only did he do that, but then he was involved in a David Bowie album. He co-wrote the song Fame, which was a huge hit here in the States, and he is playing on it. You can clearly hear his vocal in the back with the Fame. Really cool. And then there's a song, they redid the cover of Across the Universe, a wonderful John Lennon song that he is featured on this Bowie album too. Mick Jagger, he helped Mick Jagger. There's a song called Too Many Cooks that he produced for him. For whatever reason, contractual reasons, it was not released until the 2000s. It was finally on the very best of Mick Jagger from 2007. So, not too bad. So my whole point to this video, productivity, it wasn't that bad, right? I mean, you've got him working on 2 solo albums that he completed during that time. He also produced Harry Nilsson's. So 3 albums he was completely involved with during this year and a half. On a personal level, I wanted to show you this. This is a book called Instamatic Karma, and these are photographs of John Lennon by May Pang. John had bought May for her birthday a Polaroid camera and encouraged her to take some photographs of him and people that would be hanging around. So I wanted to show you a nice picture here. Now this is kind of cool. But John to me looks very relaxed, very easygoing, just pretty content in my opinion. Let me show you here. The other thing I think May was involved with was helping bring Julian, his first son, and John Lennon together. Made a point of having him visit. I think they went to Disney World together too. I know they did. So that was really nice. And these are just nice photographs. The one I really want to show you though is supposedly the last known picture of John Lennon and Paul McCartney. And May took this one. And that is this one right here. Isn't that amazing? Let me get that right so you can see it. Okay, so really cool, really nice. And you got Ringo there too. See that? You got Ringo down there and you got Paul. So it was very nice. It was a period of time where John mended relationships. And to me, it's also very important that him and Paul, got on again like they used to. And so anyway, that was really the point of this video. What ended up happening is John would perform with Elton John in Thanksgiving at Madison Square Garden. Yoko had some tickets to go in the back and meet them, and she talked to John. Now she was not completely, they were on regular phone contact. It's not like they didn't talk to each other regularly. They talked to each other. And then soon after that Thanksgiving of '74, by February of '75, he had moved back in. So anyway, I wanted to thank you very much for watching my video, and you have a nice day, okay? Take care. Bye.